everyone, welcome back to my channel. This time I'm reviewing Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. Now you might say, this has been out for a while, which it has. It was published back in '37, and I consider this a classic. It's just not a book I had ever gotten around to reading it. I never had it in my bookshelf. So I was recently at the thrift store and I saw this, and I don't know if I never put two and two together, because I have Zora Neale Hurston's book Barracoon in my wish list to get and to read, and I guess I just never realized that she wrote this book as well, because I mean, I've heard of this book, you know, for a long time, but I never put the two together. So when I was at the thrift store and I saw it and I saw her name, I was like, oh, well, of course I should get that. So I picked it up, and you know, it's a smaller book, so I knew I would be able to read it pretty quick. So I read this a couple weeks ago, and you know, I feel like I need to start doing these videos almost immediately after I finish the book, because you know, I get started on another book and all the details kind of fade a little bit. So I'm gonna try to do better going forward. But just a little background. So Zora Neale Hurston, she was actually born in Alabama. Her family moved to Florida, where I believe her father became mayor of town Eatonville, which actually she mentions in this book, and part of it is took place there. So, but she went to college. I believe she was the first Black woman to attend Barnard College in New York, and later was in graduate school for, I think, anthropology at Columbia. So she really had a research kind of training, and I know some of her other books were more about documenting people, like I think Caribbean and the South. So I have another one of her books, Mules and Men. I haven't read that yet. And like I said, her book Barracoon is in my wish list to read, which was published, you know, just a couple years ago, you know, oh my God, I can't say this word. Book was published after her death. So, once I finished reading this, you know, I read it fairly quickly, and I knew it was a movie. And with the classics, I really like to watch the movie after I read the book. I don't like to watch the movie before I read the book, obviously, because they're usually not true to the book and they miss a lot of stuff. So, but I really enjoy watching the movie adaptations, you know, of other classics like Janie. You know, there's a lot of different versions of that. So I really enjoyed watching that. So I looked for to see if it was, you know, on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and when those don't work out, I usually go to the library, and I'm surprised that the library didn't have it, and so I had to do some searching, and I guess I found out that it was a TV movie back in 2005. So I think those are probably not as easily found, you know, as a DVD. So I'm going to try to see if, you know, I'm sure it's the kind of movie, since it's a classic, that it would probably be, you know, re-aired, replayed on TV again. So I'm going to try to look into that, because, you know, Halle Berry plays the main character, Janie. So I'd be interested in watching that now, because, you know, I never saw it when it was on TV. So that's something I'm going to try to do. But so back to the story. I really enjoyed it. You know, it was difficult at first to get into the dialect she uses. It seems like it takes a lot longer to read the dialect, because it doesn't flow as well. But, you know, that just kind of sets the scene, sets the time. But really, it's just a love story about Janie. And in the afterword, I was actually reading how they described this book as kind of a feminist book. I think I tagged it. What did they say? A bold feminist novel, the first to be explicitly so in the Afro-American tradition. So I'd say I agree. You know, obviously am a fan of having a female, main character, and that's what it is. So Janie's the main character, and it follows her life, and it's a love story. And I really, I really liked her as a character because, she, I guess this is going to tell what the book is about, but so she gets married off pretty young to an older man, because that's what her grandmother who raised her wants her to do. And even though it's not for love, which she wants to marry for love, and she thought, she's so young, eventually she would love this man. And she realizes, her life with him is not how she wants to live her life. She, kind of randomly meets this other man who comes through town and decides to go away with him, and leaves with him. And he's a very ambitious man. They move to another area, Eatonville, where he has some money, and he's able to kind of buy land and start a business, and ends up becoming mayor. And that's where she lives with him for I think a couple decades at least. But still, you can tell that she's not happy. She's not really able to be her true self. He is a kind of man that is controlling, basically, and doesn't really, she literally doesn't let her wear her hair as she wants it. Controls her even in that way. Won't let her wear her hair down while she works in the shop. And even the townspeople recognize that, he doesn't let her do that. So kind of, controlling person. She's not able to blossom under him, but she, is committed to him and does what she's told, and works in the shop even though that's not what she wants to do, and basically lives this life up until he dies. And after he dies, she stays around until she meets another man. At this point, she's fairly well off, because her previous, husband was able to do well for themselves. And so she's got money in the bank. This new man, Tea Cake, doesn't really have much, but she's willing to, go with him to work in the fields in South Florida. She's willing to kind of give up that life because he makes her happy, and she finally blossoms, with him, and is able to really have that love in her life. And what's interesting, obviously she's older, it's later in life for her, and Tea Cake is younger. And so there was kind of the townspeople worried that he's after her money. But I personally really enjoyed that aspect of it, the fact that she was older, and had been in other relationships, but still didn't find the love that she knew was out there for her. It was inspiring, hopeful. And so I appreciated that aspect. And basically, obviously there's some tragedy that happens, and Tea Cake dies. I don't know if I want to spoil that for y'all. Obviously, I feel like if you're watching this, you either read the book or so yeah. They live through a hurricane that comes through there in South Florida, and some stuff happens, and he ends up dying, and she goes back to Eatonville, and that's where the story ends. So great book, love story, beautiful. Love the main character and how it follows the woman Janie. So there was one line. So when I read, I use a pencil to underline things that really kind of speak to me. So I want to read just this one piece that I thought was really quite beautiful. Let's see. It's chapter 20. Love is like the sea. It's a moving thing, but still in all, it takes its shape from the shores it meets, and it's different with every shore. So I thought that was really a beautiful way to describe love, how it's different, for different people. You can't compare loves. So I thought that was a really beautiful way to describe it. So that is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I'm going to go try to find that Halle Berry 2005 TV movie. I believe Oprah Winfrey produced or was involved somehow. So I'm going to try to find that somehow and watch it. And we'll see, because this is a classic. Everybody should read this. She's one of the big time African-American, authors. And so very important work you should read. So till next time, keep reading.